Can I just
Okay.
jump on my computer? It's hard to see on my phone while I'm talking to you, to be honest.
Okay, no
Just give me a
problem.
second.
So we're
Okay.
recording this so it can go up onto the Zoom, onto the webinars now. And we're going through, what do you do when you get your welcome pack? The
Yep.
welcome pack constitutes a set of documents, but your assignment of consent is the most important one. That's the red document that says notice of assignment of consent, transfer of liability, and it says my name is under non-disclosure. It's a 2-page document, and you thumbprint it in red ink where it says autograph, and you can have somebody witness that if you like, unless you want to do it yourself, as me, myself, and I. So then in the welcome pack, you've got a Minister of Emoven ID card that should have your exemplification roll number and a warranty deed number, the place that it was issued and the date on it. You take a small photograph and you fix the photograph next to the seal and you fold it in half and laminate it. And that is your new ID card. Who or what do I identify as? Minister of Emoven. What is that piece of paper document doing? It's reserving my rights from being implied that I have just consented to commit fraud upon my soul. I'm not playing that game today. And it's used in all incidents wherever anybody asks you to identify yourself, you use that card. We've also got a universal share that represents your universal share back to you, and all of the rights that goes with it. That is for use later on down the line when we start to use your shares and each of our own shares to invest in and back co-operations instead of corporations of our own making that are responsible for our security services, for our water supply, for our food production, and for our energy creation. Now, that's one of the last columns that people get to when they've gone through these processes. So put that one to one side. Kindness credits, credit note is a way of explaining this to you so that you can see we've automatically got 100,000 or whatever that note is in there, amount credited to your account so that you can use that to pay it forward to somebody else who you would normally give slave tokens to to stop that happening at the point of exchange. So let's say I owe you, you've done something for me and I owe you 1,000 slave tokens. If I was to give you 1,000 slave tokens and your overheads of 1,000 slave tokens a month, that would last you 1 month and you'd have to find another 1,000 slave tokens. And so the wheel of debt continues in everybody's lives. This way, the energy that we actually are using to do the exchange with, we make priceless by saying, this is my 5 hours a week, I'm giving this to you. What am I actually giving? At this point, you're extending the right of use that you've been granted of my intellectual property and the trust surety services and universal law is what you're offering somebody else to cover them instead of slave tokens, while they can then find the space in their own mind to do this for themselves. So in exchange for that, they're giving you 5 hours, you're giving them either your own 5 hours because you've learned this, or you're using 5 hours of mine because you've exchanged 5 hours of my time with 5 hours of your own in your community. And the transaction is worth whatever that person's liabilities are each month, but not just for 1 month, for the rest of their life, you're discharging them. So if somebody's got liabilities of 1,000 slave tokens a month, in the 12 months, they're going to have to find 12,000 slave tokens. And what you've done is you've made the interaction that you've had with them worth 12,000 a year. So it's to help you do the financial logic yourselves. In there, there's also some kindness credit notes so that you can start to get used to creating your own credit notes, because you've all been creating your own credit notes, but they were just written on somebody else's paper and you were crediting them instead. So it's very empowering when you go and you take one of these notes that you filled in and you give and present that to somebody in place of slave tokens at point of sale. If you want to do that, you need to credit your kindness credit account with the amount of slave tokens that you would be giving to somebody at the point of sale and into your kindness credit account. And then when you get there, you call the number and we do the exchange using a bank card. So then what else is in that pack? Your coronavirus immunity record. So this is to rebut the presumption that your DNA really belongs to you, first of all, so that you can't give it to anybody else. If you're saying that your DNA is already copyrighted to universal law, and that you have got a private healthcare provider trust that you trust more than you trust the NHS or a private, let's call it the Medici family system, then they could no longer presume that you've consented to grant them the authority to minister your healthcare to you. They can no longer presume your DNA. They can no longer presume that they know your DNA because you've now suggesting that you've had something that has altered that DNA, and therefore whatever it is they've got to offer, they can't be 100% sure, nobody can, therefore, that it's going to be in the name of healthcare for you because they don't know what you've already had. It also rebuts the presumption that you need to wear a mask, and it also rebuts the presumption that you need to close your business. So the coronavirus immunity record, it allows for free passage without the quarantining and or mask wearing on buses, trains, planes, and in cars. And so what you do with that, obviously, is down to the incidents or circumstances that you encounter in your life. Let's say you would normally pay for a train ticket. That train that is paid for out of your share of the planet's resources was created from that. And you're actually buying back your rights to travel as a privilege when you support anybody asking you to perform an act of commerce in order for you to access your rights. So you pull out your Maester Emoven card, let them write a ticket in that title, and that goes for train tickets, plane fines, parking fines, anything that ordinarily you would use one of their legal fictions, you've got your own now to use instead, which is Minister Emoven, with all your rights reserved. Why are all your rights reserved? Because you didn't hand them and credit a legal fiction that belonged to somebody else. That's yours to use, but you have to use it right. Have we got any questions, Kyle, about that?
I was logging into my account. This first, the document you said that we needed to thumbprint. Which one was that?
That's an assignment of
Is
consent.
this
You
the
haven't.
claim?
No, you haven't been given that yet. You've got a kindness credit claim form in there as well, have you?
I've got a kindness credit claim form, coronavirus immunity, the kindness credit note, the universal share certificate, and the warranty document.
Right. So the kindness credit kindness credit claim form is for you to list all of your liabilities on. So your gas, your water, your electricity, council tax, all of those things. And any mortgages. Some people have got buy-to-let mortgages. And what we've done is we've structured a program at the back of these now so that your community can be developed much quicker than it's taken up to date while we've been waiting for everybody to honour their 5 hours a week of let's open a shop. So what we're doing is we're taking, offering a position for the people in the community to create their own community chest version of the Monopoly board game, if you like. And 10% of whatever it is that you save a month goes into a pot, which is going to pay for People's Protection Patrol. It's going to pay for rent for a shop. It's going to pay to kickstart these organic food packages for people and to provide a hub. And so that you're actually investing back into your own community. The people discharging mortgages are putting in 1%, and the people who are discharging multiple mortgages are putting in 3%. So, and what we're doing is using that as a kindness credit conversion into a shop, for example. So each community fills out a kindness credit claim form. What is it that you require? Well, we've got this amount of thousands of people in this community. We need this amount of thousands of People's Protection Patrol in order for us to be able to facilitate that in the quickest way possible. Instead of paying these tyrants our taxes, we are making a voluntary contribution of our energy that we've already converted into slave tokens into this pot to start to kickstart this, so that we're not sitting around waiting another 5 years for whatever it is they've got to dish up to us, because we didn't bother to get together and organize ourselves. So at the bottom of the kindness credit claim form explains how to fill the note out, where to put your thumbprint, what to write in the back, different ways to use this, because you can actually, let's say I want to put this to the test, like I just explained. I'm going to go to the organic food shop instead of the supermarket, because I can now afford to go there. And I'm going to spend 10 kindness credits in there for a week shopping. That would be £80 then that I'm converting in slavery into my kindness credit account. I put my kindness credit account number as reference, so we know which account it is that's got the credit to it, and a 4-digit PIN number for security purposes. You then write the note. You tell us what day it is that you're going, so that we can be on the other end of the phone, and you go and do your exchange in exactly the same way, and you present the note. At the point where they look at you completely agog, you say, nope, you don't accept kindness credits because you don't know what they are. So I'm going to have to convert it into slave tokens for you. Just a moment while I call my bank. Hello, this is kindness credits. How can we help you? I'm in a shop and I'd like to convert this equivalent of a traveler's check now into the local currency of this shop. So can you just make the payment over the phone to his chip and pin machine, please? Just put me onto the merchant, get to speak to the merchant. They put the number in, their chip and pin, and slave tokens credits their chip and pin machine that's got their fiat currency attached to it. And now what you just did there is exemplified that those two, that transaction, that piece of paper, that bill of exchange represented the same amount of slave tokens they're used to getting. However, because it's on a kindness credit note, they get to keep it all because it's tax-free. So that's just quickly step one of being able to use the kindness credit claim form and the note.
Yep. So when I think I sent you guys an email right early on. So we've got a crew over on the Queensland coast, New South Wales coast, and Western Australia. Are we able to do something like this? Because when we're talking about the purchase of property, I don't have a mortgage. I've been out of the system for 7 odd years. But there is, like, we've got all the farming on the side that we've been looking at. I think I told you we've been working with some crew now of getting slave tokens to settle these farms for these farmers in distress. So is that something we could say, if we got that property in Margaret River, I could take this promissory note, do an exchange for this property, which is really the community property, is for the community trust anyway. Can we use that in that regard?
Right. Okay, so it's the circumstance of the property that you're looking at. It's all comes down to right of use. Is anybody exercising the right of use of that property?
Well, I'm assuming so, because they're wanting to sell it,
Right. So you would go to them and say, "Why are you selling your property?" Wouldn't you? If we're talking about private individuals who are exercising their right of use, and through their belief in the debt slavery system, they're selling their assets to the highest bidder in order for them to be able to keep their heads above the drowning sea of debt, let's call it, or for, we have to, it's financial logic. Why are you selling your assets? It's the question at this point. Why are you selling? And we ask that, even if you went to buy a house, you would ask them why you sell it. Wouldn't you? Oh, the neighbours are a nightmare. Well, I don't want to buy a house next door to the neighbours are a nightmare, do it? So you would do, it's just due diligence. But the offer of settlement that you're making is a very different one. You're offering for them to keep their asset, that it will be assigned into their family trust. And for your services, you would like to have a right of use of this property or a part of this property so that everybody can benefit from it and benefit from the assets, making the least amount of damage as we go to the asset or the resource and restoring it as we go. So you have to find out why they're selling. If it's a piece of property that has been presumed to be collateral by these private corporations, that's a completely different ballgame, because their claim is what's secured. So let's say there's a large property, it's on the books of the local council, or it's a water resource, for example, let's say, or some company mining some resource that doesn't belong to them, and the presumption's been rebutted that it does, or that we all consent to this private corporation stealing our resources, turning it into something else, making a load of profit out of it, and selling it back to us into a form of, I don't know, laptop that keeps breaking, for example. It depends which circumstance it is that you're dealing with. Now, that property in those circumstances, a restoration of rights, the creditors immediately given a valuation, longitude and latitudes taken, Big Blue Asset Management go in and assess it, give it a value, and that amount is deducted from the overall debt. They get a deed of acknowledgement and a bill of exchange and a right of use issued to that particular community trust.
Right. So what I'm assuming, and I'm only assuming, thinking out aloud at this stage, but what I'm assuming is that whoever's selling some of the properties, they think that the money that they've got is profit for them, it's being sold through a real estate. So the real estate makes a profit, the people selling it are they think money's profit, and they think it's an asset, they think it's got value to it.
Okay, so if an estate agent, what's happening there? Somebody is still capitalizing on their right of use. Is that lawful under the law? No, it's not.
Yeah.
So in order for me I have an obligation of performance to uphold the law. It's come to my attention that you are selling asset that has been secured, because everything that stands on this rock of light is what that secured party credit filing is in reference to. So it doesn't matter if you made your house out of the mud that you collected out of the ground that was created by this rock, or whether you used the rocks to create your house with. It was all created by somebody or something other than you. You have got the right of use of it, that's all. If you want to exchange your right of use of a property, for example, then let it be because you want to move to exercise your right of use elsewhere. You're not able any longer to hold a huge portfolio. Not you, not a legal fiction, not a corporation has got the ability to be able to claim anything anymore. You've only ever had the right of use of it. It's the illusion that you owned something that causes the problem, because it creates the fear of loss. And instead, you're going to offer these people who believe that they have to sell their asset in order for them to be able to convey themselves into a different situation that they'd rather have, whatever that might be. You're going and ministering a remedy to that belief, which is whatever it is that you thought you needed to do, you now no longer need to do that thing. You no longer need to compromise yourself, your family, your children, your rights, and excuse me, and the fact oh dear me, sorry. The capitalization is what caused us the problem in the first place.
Yep.
So
if for argument's sake, what if you wanted to have an asset, a house, not really the use of a house, what do we do?
Say that again.
Well, what if you want to have a house or use of a house for your family? What do people do?
I've got use of properties all over the place. I went to these people who had a problem and I said, if I help you with your problem, you've got an apartment block there that the bank's about to steal, right? If I give you my 5 hours, will you exchange 5 hours of time when you're one of your properties? So I've got a roof over my head. Of course we will. We want people like you in our community. I've got loads of friends. If you can help me do this, I'll bring all my friends to come and see you. Okay, thank you very much. I've got a 2-bedroom, beautiful apartment in the middle of Samos with a 5-year right of use on it because I stopped the bank stealing the whole lot.
Yeah, right.
That's what I'm offering instead. That's what you're now able to offer, because that kind of credit note, that kind of credit note that we've got, that is an extension of this, of what we've already, that what we've, our energy and intellectual property granted the right of use to people who are going to use it right. So if you're going to go and help people with relieving that indebted mindset or that problem, we're not going and say, no, you get out of that house because it's standing on this rock of light and I fancy living there. No. Possession's 9/10 of the law, and those people who are in possession of that property, you would never go and imply, because otherwise we're just the same as the dirty bastards that we're trying to get rid of and make obsolete, which is false claim. The people who are exercising the right of use hold the quiet title. We can't come along as the people professing to be the people who uphold the quiet title but break somebody else's.
Yep.
You know, we're all singing from one hymn sheet, if you like, with want of a better word, one verse.
So I'm looking at a scenario here. We've got in Western Australia, they've got lots of people here are the houses to rent for the people in certain areas, and the ones that are available for rent they're using for Airbnb.
Not anymore, they're not, are they? Because nobody's coming on holiday anymore. You can't go and stay. Kyle, you can't stay in that Airbnb, even if you wanted to, because they're all shitting themselves in case you've got coronavirus. They won't let you in. And I know that because we were looking for somewhere when we. Hello, are you there?
You're there? Yeah, I lost you for a sec.
Yeah, it cut me off, which means that that recording's lost now. That's what they did.
Oh, okay.
So anyway, it doesn't matter. There's plenty more of those where that came from. What were we saying?
I was talking about. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I was talking about the scenario of people not having place to stay down here. So my thought was that a community here get some land, allow people to build the house on there and do that, but I don't know how we're supposed to do that. To get the land to allow people to build a house land.
I don't get how you don't understand how you do it. I just explained how you do it. I just explained. So the first step is, how do we do it? I build my community. So the first thing that I need is a presence in my community, be it a shop, be it my front door open on a Wednesday afternoon, be it a restoration of rights that I've already done on a small property to prove how effective this structure works when it's used in the right hands. We've all been living this. We all know how this works, because we all know that if you don't pay your debt, then somebody can come and take collateral. Well, they didn't pay their debt, so you're coming to take the collateral. It's that simple.
Yeah.
Now, this collateral over here, the first question to ask is, okay, do I really need a great big sprawling estate if I'm standing in there by myself with a pile of horse shit and one fork? No. What I need is a presence, first of all. So where do I first start? I want a high street. I want somebody who's got a problem in the high street with a bank. Then I don't have to pay any rent. If I do need to pay some rent to start with, I come to my community and I say, right, we want a shop. So we lay a kindness credit claim form against the community chest. Everything's transparent. Everything's done democratically. Do we all agree that this is a good way of converting these slave tokens into Kindness Credit Community Credit now. Yes, it's going to credit the community because we're going to be able to have 5 people in that shop 5 hours a week. We've got 5 days a week then, and inside there, then you start your hub off. People can see there's a shop open in the middle of the coronavirus. It's got coronavirus immunity record in the window, COVID clean. You're spraying people in the street outside, and you posted your leaflets, and that's, you build your community like that with a very small amount of energy. Karen's coming in now. Hey there.
Oh, was she?
Yeah. Hello.
Hi, Lisa. You're right, lovey.
Hi, love. Yeah, I was just going through a few things with Kyle about the email that he sent over. We're recording it, but it cut me off, and then and now you popped in. Do you want to stay in, or have we got some questions?
Yeah, no problem.
Okay.
I'll stay in. Hiya, Kyle. You're right, darling.
Darren, yeah, good. So you're just trying to get my head around and working out the next steps to sort of move forward. We sort of gone a little bit round in a circle, but
it hasn't got his assignment of consent.
Lisa, what? So,
Karen, are you there? All right. He hasn't had an assignment of consent, so we need to get that over to him. Did your partner get one, Kyle?
No.
We should have done. They've been sent out twice, but I'll redo it again, lovey.
Right. Okay. Love.
I've got the welcome pack. Is that the one you're talking about?
No, we're talking about the assignment of consent. So we've gone through the welcome pack. He's got the documents to the welcome pack. Let's not have to do all this again. The one document that is missing is the assignment of consent. So, and obviously,
right, I'll get those sent out today to him.
Great. Okay. So we were just going over.
Thank you, Karen.
We were just going over the how to use the original filing, because obviously it's this rock of light. So it doesn't matter where you're standing, that it's including, not exclusively, that bit. So have you got any other, we just got to the point now where Kyle just said, what if somebody wants to go and live somewhere? And you talked about everybody renting their properties out to Airbnb. Airbnb now, because of the coronavirus, everybody's struggling to rent their properties out because of the restrictions on the movement and the malarkeys that the government have set up. I would go to the first port of call if I wanted to create affordable housing for people who are living in the street. I'd go to the Airbnb website and I'd go through the create an account, go through them and contact them, explain to them that you're part of the trust and that as a Big Blue Asset Management assessor, you've assessed their property based on the information that's available on Airbnb. You comprehend obviously that the situation that they're in at the moment must mean that they're worried about their mortgages. And here is my offer of settlement as Big Blue Asset Management Minister Emoven. If you assign your right of use to the property to your trust, you'll discharge that amount of what's outstanding of your mortgage, and you will then give us 5 weeks or whatever, a year if it's holiday accommodation, or if it's a large complex such as anything over 3 apartments, then 1 apartment for 5 years to house homeless people in. And so, but this needs to be written in agreement. We put our trust in people who have had the benefits of these services for over 1.5 years. And when we actually came to ask for the keys, they asked me how much rent we were paying. Now, at that point, now you're asking me to put a value. If I've got to pay you rent for something that you would never have had the right of use of if I hadn't had my energy for over 1.5 years, then you wouldn't even be having this conversation if you can't see that. Then it's what it is an empty promise. So we've set this out so that we could, exemplify that our word is our promise, you know, whatever it is, it's our oath. That's our, and they're empty. So we're not waiting anymore for people to fulfill empty promissory notes. That's why we're saying, look, put 10% in there and we'll turn it into a shop, or we'll turn it into 10 people's protection patrols with 5 pieces of transport between them, so that if anybody comes to imply that your rights can be capitalised on, you've got your own private security team through Rapporto.com and People's Protection Patrol to be able to ensure that that doesn't happen. What we're just doing here now in Greece, or in Alada rather, sorry, is issuing warrants. Actually, not issuing warrants, it's issuing summons to come to the Ministry of Remedy. It's a public hearing. They're given a certain time and date. If they don't attend, the warrant's issued, and according to the Geneva Convention, anybody who is arrested from a warrant that's been executed under the granted by creditors of Universal Law Community Trust, and executed by Minister Emoven, will be brought before a court. They'll be remanded until the time that the court can convene, and they'll be dealt with according to the law, in exactly the same way that this private commercial system is in operation. We need a public, lawful alternative, and it's only by the people setting the precedence. Because, you know, clearly anybody can set up a private corporation, write a load of papers, legislation, tell you that you're obliged to perform because you use something that belonged to them, and therefore now you can be held accountable. We've lived that. So all we have to do, whenever we get to the position where we go, how do we do that? How are we doing it already? Okay, I'm exercising my right of use by doing an exchange with somebody. I used to exchange slave tokens, but now I know I'm incriminating myself and compounding slavery. So I'm exchanging this. What is this? Whatever you were going to use those slave tokens for. There you go. Well, then we got somebody saying, well, I might like a Ferrari. Okay, the trappings of Ferrari are over there. The energy that you've just got back from this exchange, go and convert your own energy into slave tokens, go buy yourself a Ferrari, and you buy yourself a Ferrari much quicker now than you would before, because I've just discharged all of your liabilities for you. So if you were ever going to get a Ferrari anyway, then you're going to get it 100% quicker, or 50% quicker, or whatever it was the percentage is that I've just discharged that was stopping you from accessing your lifelong dream of a petrol head car like a Ferrari or a boat. So we've got these companies that have got yachts, Schroener, beautiful company in the Netherlands that came to us a couple of years ago and said, we want one of your trusts. And every customer that comes to us to buy a boat, we will create a trust for that customer to put their boat in so that the customer doesn't have to pay tax. Well, okay, if I could afford one of your boats at £1.5 million anyway, it must mean that I've persecuted a hell of a lot of people for profit. So you're going to the back of the queue anyway, because I'm not facilitating. The point is that the people who are elite because they learn and practice this information, or they're wealthy enough through persecuting enough people to have the money to pay people like me for the job that I do for you guys, for an exchange of 5 hours a week. And if that's not got value to it, then okay, we'll put a value on it. And the value is your kindness credits, community credit. Without the people conversing their energy into supporting their own community, you simply haven't got one. That's it. And the reason why you haven't got one is because your promises were empty and you're too busy chasing the slave tokens, even though you said, nah, I don't know, I'm going to use the kindness credits. Why are you going and converting your energy into slave tokens then? Well, because I need to go and use the slave tokens to go and exchange with people in my community. Why? Because you haven't told them about kindness credits. That's why. Because you haven't gone and presented the kindness credit note and done these steps by putting you, okay, if I know I'm going to give somebody £1,000, I'm going to give them £1,000 anyway. What have I got to lose by explaining I've put £1,000 in that pot there, and this piece of paper represents that pot? If you take that piece of paper instead of these other pieces of paper, represent the same pot, you keep all of the pieces of paper in the pot. Now, if anybody who doesn't get that, you know, you are incapacitated and you need a government, and so this isn't for you.
Yep.
So the first
Okay.
thing,
No.
I'd be opening a shop. The first thing, that's what we're going to be doing. The first things we need to do is have a prolific minister in each area who gets, whether it's just step 1 and 2 to start with, it doesn't matter. Just
Yep.
starting it off. Everybody's, you say, well, it's your 5 hours. I'm going to teach 5 people to teach 5 people. Oh, well, how can we teach 5 people if you haven't even done step 1 properly yourself? So now we're going to create this cushion so that people can move through this much more quickly. So they have got a shop in their community that they can go to. Like, I haven't got a shop. Oh, make one then. Open the bloody doors on a shop. There's so many properties that are listed by these councils and governmental agencies that they're going to trying to sell to China or the highest bidder.
Going bankrupt now.
Go and claim it. Go and claim the right of exercise, your right of restore, your right of use of it. That was never a legal fiction's right to claim in the first place. And by you being there, you rebut the claim. So we've had this couple of times now where gone and done the restoration of rights, and people come and say, you haven't got a right to do this. Call the police then. Police don't come. Or the police come and they scratch their heads. Or the police call me and say, did you really send some people to the Ministry of Defence? Yes. Are you Minister? Yes. Why did you send them there? Because they haven't paid their debt. Oh, I don't understand that. We've got it on recording with the police. So get to the point where you understand that if you don't pay your mortgage, somebody can take your house. So simple. Well, this private corporation that you all think is your government didn't pay their debt. And this is one of their assets that they claimed, which actually belongs to you. So I'm just restoring it back to the rights of the creditors. Who are they? Who is the creditors? You. Here you go. What do you want to see inside this shop? Suddenly, they've gone from fear of loss, who are you, trespasser, terrorist, to creditor in one interaction. And here you go. What rights would you like to see upheld from this outlet? Well, I'd like to see some bloody justice for a start off. Well, let's call it the Ministry of Remedy and hold a public meeting here once a month and invite all of those people that all of you people have made a claim against. And if they don't come, all of these people that you've granted your consent to go and act as People's Protection Patrol can go and arrest them, right? It's just exactly the same thing that's always been going on, except you've got people who've got ethics and morals and a clear comprehension of what the law is, executing it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so that would be first step then. Ready to getting one of these shops and restoring the rights and doing something like that and setting up.
Yeah, that's the first step for anybody.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool.
All right. Karen, I know we briefly, and Lisa, you also said to me that you wanted some sort of ledger or something. What was that you need? Because I'm not clear. Is there something that you need that I can help with? That was
you know, you talked about this online. You had this online. Let's take this off now.
Yeah.
From